What's up, everyone? I just realized that I have not done a live stream since my David Gilmour interview. This is a special video today because I have a big announcement. I have a new course out called Music Theory for Songwriters, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but I want to kind of tell you the story about this, how I came up with this, and then I'll talk about the David Gilmour thing afterwards. So probably about 6 months ago, my son Dylan, he's been playing guitar for about a year and a half or so. And he came down and he says, I want to become a songwriter, and I want to learn, what's up, Bobby? And he's like, I want to learn theory behind songwriting. I mean, Dylan can figure out the chords and things like that, knows what the melodies are. And he's like, what is the theory behind it? Like, how do people come up with things, and how do I understand how songs are put together? I said, all right. So he came down, and I have a whiteboard over here, and I started saying things like, well, let's just start out with basic theory. I know you're going to know some of this stuff, and other things you're not going to know. We went through basic diatonic harmony, things that he did know, like how chord progressions work together. But then we start talking about things like borrowed chords, and we talked about, groups like Radiohead and how they would use and the Beatles and more, people that write, Stevie Wonder were things that are really interesting and things that are kind of out of the norm, out of the 1, 4, 5, and 6 chord progressions. But even those, like why certain people use certain notes. So this went on for a couple weeks, and we would do it every night and stuff. And I eventually did things and I was like, I should make this a course. And in this course, I did an analysis, for example, of all of Max Martin's 27 number one songs, where I talk about, how many are in major, how many are in minor, what are the chords used when he uses chords that are not in, they're not from the key, which are the ones that are the borrowed chords from different keys, how borrowed chords work, all this kind of stuff. So it's, I want to actually play you the trailer of it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. I'm going to talk about the David Gilmour interview because there's some really interesting things for that. So let's go to this, and let's see here. How do I do this here? Display. Here we go. Let me play you the trailer. Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. I'm psyched to introduce my revolutionary new course, Music Theory for Songwriters. This isn't just another dry technical music theory class. It's a dynamic 3-hour journey designed to take your songwriting from good to unforgettable. In this course, we'll focus on the music theory that really matters, like the dissonances and hooks that make people want to hear your songs over and over. From crafting interesting melodies to mastering song structures, you'll learn the essentials that make songs great. Don't miss this chance to transform your songwriting. Enroll in Music Theory for Songwriters today and take the opportunity to make music that inspires people. With a limited time offer of 50% off through Cyber Monday, there's no better time to get in. Let's do this. So that is that's the trailer for it. This is the website. It's at songwriters.co.co, which actually it's amazing that was available. It goes through here. This shows you kind of all the different, the table of contents for the different videos. Course introduction, sharp and flat scales. I actually found a way to teach music theory on a more basic level, yet it's all the things that you would need to be a professional songwriter. Okay. So it's not the kind of throwing all this stuff out there. This is actually more of a method of how to learn this stuff. Chord inversions, how minor keys work, secondary dominance, modes in the context of songwriting, like how to use things for arrangements, for alternate parts, how to apply modes in your for melody writing, things like that, how to use borrowed chords, how to use modulations, chromatic medians, those are third related keys, how to use take chords from third related keys, or Then I talk about song forms and kind of the history of song forms from AABA to verse chorus. I talked about how Beatles songs, the different song forms they would use, all the way to contemporary songs. Principles of melody, what makes a strong melody, what notes you should go towards, how to use dissonant notes or non-chord tones or upper extensions, or Sting would say surprise notes. How the pros arrange songs, breaking down melodies, analyzing hit songs, how to use AI in songwriting, because I think that's kind of an important thing to do. So that's the topics covered in the course. It's over 3 hours long, and I'm really proud of it. I think it's this is more of a how-to thing, along with the in addition to presenting the information, it's like, okay, here's the information and here's what to do with the information. Here's how to understand it, how to memorize stuff. Because this was really based on how I taught my son. Okay, so like, how do you actually teach songwriting? And I was talking about, with him, I talked about how Nirvana songs were constructed. Okay, what were the relationships of the chords? What notes would Kurt use in the melody? And I touch upon these things too, about the arrangements, for example, like how to not use notes that are using the melody in your accompaniment. Like when Kurt would do that, he would and the link is in the description in the chat. Aaron just texted me, so you'll see it there. It's at songwriters.co to get the course. I was explaining to Dylan, Kurt Cobain would play things like would play power chords and then would sing the third of the chord over it and omit that note from the actual chord, and would just have it in the voice, and how powerful that is. Or Sting, for example, would do things like he'd be playing a minor chord, let's say an F minor, and he would sing the flat six over it without, with omit. Let's say we're in E minor, so it's just sake of ease for you guys. So E minor, and use the flat six, which would be the note C against it, okay? But he'd have B in the chord voicing it behind it, in like I Burn For You, right? Which is an amazing, amazing song. And those things, and the dissonance of having that flat six against the fifth of the chord, are what make people want to hear these things again. That's what these dissonances make melodies memorable. So that's my new course. It's I'm very proud of it, and you guys should definitely check it out. Sale is it's on sale through Cyber Monday, 50% off. It's $74.50, which I think is kind of that's exactly 50% off. Okay, so some of you were asking me, a lot of people have written to me and asked me about the David Gilmour interview and what's up, Doug, and how that happened, when that happened. So it happened a couple weeks ago in New York City. I went to see David play in LA about 3 weeks ago at the Intuit Arena, which was an amazing show. And then I went to New York to see him play Madison Square Garden on the last night of the tour. And then we did the interview the next day in New York City. And his wife Polly was there. His guitar tech Phil was there. His tour manager Dave was there. It was really a cool thing. And he is the nicest guy. Obviously, the topic of the video that I made that said David Gilmour will never be on my channel, why he won't. And I'm not going to tell you that didn't help, because Tom's laughing over there. I will not say that didn't help, because because they heard about it. I mean, the video got 2 million views. You know why David Gilmour will not be on my YouTube channel, but that ended up not being true, as I said in the thing. So there were some great things. I got to talk to his guitar tech, Phil, that has been his tech since 1974. He got there about an hour early, and what a nice guy. And I asked him all about David's gear, about his rig, his live setup, and what I was hearing. And then, of course, I asked David about these things in the interview. And David's wife, Polly, was there. She was sitting about, 4 feet from him, just off camera. And she's incredibly nice. And to say that I wasn't excited about when he played the Shine On chord voicing, or as he called it, the arpeggio, that was pretty amazing. She was the one, Marcos says she was the one in the reflection. That was David's wife in the reflection that you can see. I actually didn't even notice that in the video. I only noticed it when I saw a few people, some of my friends actually commented on it, but that was really an amazing thing. And so here's a funny story about this. So my son Dylan, who loves David Gilmour, and he plays, a bunch of Pink Floyd solos and stuff that he's learned here. And I said, Dylan, I'm interviewing David Gilmour. Is there anything I should ask him? And he said, yeah, ask him how I can improve my lead playing. So I was like, David, my son Dylan is 17, and he had one question, and he said, finally, you're interviewing somebody great. And I was like, what are you talking about? I've interviewed Sting and Brian May. He's like, oh, they're great. Yeah, but David Gilmour is in his own league, right? And I said, is there anything I should ask him? He's like, yeah, ask him how I can become a better lead player. So I said to David, and I was like, and I pick up my phone. It's actually kind of a cool short, but I don't want to post it. And David's like, Dylan, this is what you should do. Or I said, I'm here with David Gilmour, and I asked him what you should do. And then I turned the phone over, and David's like, okay, Dylan, you should think of a melody in your head and sing it over the chord progression, and then figure out what it is and play it. And that's really the best way, because what you're going to sing are things that are going to sound good. Instead of hunting for the notes on the guitar, well, you figure those things out afterwards, but you really try to connect this, right? And then that's how you get more speech-like phrasing. And it was really great. And then he emailed me after, and he had a special little thing in the email for Dylan. And he said, it was really cool because he said, you should, the best thing to do is to get yourself a track, something with just a few chords that doesn't change keys, like Comfortably Numb. It's all in B minor. And he said, maybe your dad will make you a backing track for it that you can play along with, or anything it has a static chord, a chord progression that doesn't change keys. That's the easiest way to kind of learn your way around the neck and to start developing your ideas. And so Dylan's like, oh, they have backing tracks on YouTube of Comfortably Numb. So then I came down here and I set him up, and I just put it in Pro Tools, and I had him start recording along with it, which is really great. And so he starts working on his ideas, and so we've been working on that. So this is kind of it started with Dylan helping me come up with this idea. Well, actually, Dylan helping me start this channel. Right, started in 2015, and then him saying, I want to learn how to write songs, and I want to understand the theory behind it. And I thought that was such an interesting thing. So I was just like, okay, how do you teach somebody the theory? What is the theory that you need to be a songwriter? And it's not the theory, like the theory in my Beato book is just this massive kind of thing. Here are all the modes. Here's all the scales. Here are intervals. Here are all this stuff. I mean, stuff that you don't, if you want to get more in depth, that's the stuff that you do, right? Because I initially wrote my book. Now it's an interactive video course. I initially wrote it as a textbook, right? That's like a reference book. And if you want to get more in depth, like when I'm talking about modes in this, I talk about modes in relation to songwriting. When you use a Lydian sound or something, or sharp fours and what they sound like in the melody, or flat sixes on minor chords, or natural sixes on minor chords. But you don't need to know the modes of the harmonic major scale. You don't need to know the modes of the double harmonic major scale. So it's like, what are the specific things for songwriting that can make you a more effective writer? And one of the things that I've been talking about in some of my videos is I thought a lot about AI, and I have a chapter on AI tools, like how you can use AI to actually augment your songwriting. What are the different things that are out there now? And I will update the course as new things come in like that. As there are new tools, I will update the videos in relation to that. So it's like with AI, my argument now, after I've thought about this a lot, is that AI programs can gather all this music, put it in there, and spit out stuff that has already been written, or combinations of things that have already been written, from the music to the grooves to the bass sounds, everything to the lyrics. What they can't do is they can't create things that haven't been done. And the way that you can AI proof your abilities as a songwriter, I've just made up that term, is by knowledge. And you can know all the music theory and all the possibilities. You can learn them, because it's not an infinite thing. It's a finite thing. Music theory is finite. And music theory that you would use for writing songs is very finite. So if you can learn all these things and all the different possibilities, like, okay, how can I make my songs more interesting? What are chords that are out of the scale, for example, that are the possibilities? And I talk about things, when to use a flat 3 major in a major key that wouldn't normally, because the 3 chord normally is minor. When to use a major 3, okay? Like songs like, what was the song I used? Like Creep by Radiohead, for example, is a song that uses a major 3. Or a song that uses secondary dominance, like Don't Look Back in Anger uses secondary dominance. It starts C, then it goes to E7, which is a 5 of 6. It's the 5 chord of the 6th chord, A minor, but it resolves to F major. And the reason that it resolves to F major is because A minor and F major are really related, because they both share 2 notes. They both have the notes A and C in them. But the important note in it is the note A, because the leading tone of the E chord, G sharp, draws you to both the A minor and the F major in a stronger way than the E minor chord would be, which is the natural chord that falls into the key, the 3 minor chord. So using that is there's a reason that people use these devices. And it's important to know and to understand why things make for better, not only chord progressions, better melody, stronger melodies, things like that. So I saw a couple other things in here. I'm gonna just say, for the people that are just tuning in now, I've got a new course, Music Theory for Songwriters. You can find it at songwriters.co, which is C-O. I'm gonna just show it one more time here. So here's the course, the table of contents. This is what it looks like when you go there. I played the video in it. You can go back and look at it from the beginning. Table of contents, course introduction, sharp and flat scales. This is the best way that I've taught about key centers, I think, from any of my videos or anything. I really figured out how to teach this stuff, I think. Basic chords and major keys, seventh chords, chord inversions, how minor keys work, secondary dominants, how to use them, modes in the context of songwritings, how to explain different modes, as well as their particular sounds and functionalities, modes in practice, how to apply them, borrowed chords, using chords for color, how to use modulations or key changes, chromatic mediant modulations, those are third related or sixth related, and pop song forms, principles of melody, how to write great melodies, how pros arrange songs, breaking down a melody, analyzing hit songs, introduction to AI tools. I have a super chat here, a couple super chats. Let's see here. Carrie writes, I have the ear training course, which I love. Awesome. Is this a good addition to that? Absolutely. Because this is something that is not really, this material is not part of any of my courses. That's why I think this is I'm really proud of this, because this is something that is kind of unique that I haven't touched upon, because a lot of my other theory courses are, they don't really talk about songwriting in them. You use the ideas of songwriting, but it wasn't me. What's up? It wasn't me. Back again. Let's see, Carrie, there's another thing. Mateo says David Gilmour's working 80s Brian Ferry records. You love that. That's awesome. There may be another David Gilmour interview in the future. We don't know, but somebody asked me that. I saw that in the questions here. But I've got some really interesting things coming up. I just had Jeff Skunk Baxter in this past week, which was incredible. We did the short of him talking about building this Strat for someone when he worked at a store across the street from Manny's back in the 60s, and Jimi Hendrix came in and traded a Duo Sonic for it, and he got docked 3 weeks' pay by his boss for it, which I think was pretty hilarious. He told some amazing stories on the history of rock music, and he was in the beginning of beginning of Steely Dan on the first 3 records. Obviously, he played on My Old School. He played on Ricky Don't Lose That Number. We talk about all these things, and then he went from Steely Dan to the Doobie Brothers and how that happened. And he plays on, oh my gosh, he played with Joni Mitchell on Hissing of Summer Lawns. He plays on a lot of records. I asked him about why he wore headphones and sat down. It was kind of a really unique thing to see someone sitting down. And he told the story about why he sat down. It was related to Andre Segovia, and he told this insane story of Andre Segovia coming into the music store, and he had to fix his tuning heads before he played a show at Carnegie Hall. And there were I forget who he said was in the store hanging out. 2 famous guitar players were there when Andre Segovia came in. We're jamming. I can't even remember. He told so many stories that I can't even remember who he said it was. So that's coming out soon. Let's see here. Michael McDonald would be a monster to have on as well. Scotty writes, well, Scotty, I regret to inform you that I've already interviewed Michael McDonald. Look that up. It's on there. That was an incredible interview. The cool thing about these is that I ask questions related to things that I've asked in other interviews. I've interviewed a lot of guys that played on Steely Dan records, and I've asked them questions that overlap. For example, I asked Skunk Baxter about Ricky Don't Lose That Number, which Michael Omardian, when I interviewed him, he played the piano on it, right? So they're two of the main guys that played on that song I've interviewed, which is to me really cool. And he talked about kind of his concept for the solo on that song, which is a killer solo and really unlike anyone. So Aaron is posting in the chat. You can see the link to the new course, Music Theory for Songwriters. Paul says, can we get Tremonti? We can, actually. I'm going to have Mark in soon. And maybe I'm going to get him to sing some Frank Sinatra. That would be incredible. My brother John and I said, he's not a Sinatra imitator. Mark Tremonti is like the best Frank Sinatra sound alike. I mean, it's really incredible if you've ever heard him. He is ridiculously good singer. And I've got some other really interesting things coming up that I think you guys will really enjoy. So that's it for today. For those of you in the United States, have a great Thanksgiving. Eat a lot. Enjoy. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because I love to eat. And this was we're coming to the end of the year here. Starting to get a little chilly here in Atlanta over the next couple days. But you guys are amazing. Really, really appreciate everything, all your support. And have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great weekend, everyone. And we'll talk to you guys. Take care.